Before I tell you what really happens at the bottom of the Grand Canyon after sunset, I need you to understand something. This isn't one of those stories where I'm going to ease you in gently. This isn't about mysterious sounds or strange feelings. This is about why my best friend is dead, and why I can never tell his family the truth. Are you watching this late at night? Maybe you're planning a trip to the Grand Canyon and you're doing research. Drop a comment and let me know. Because if you've ever stood at the rim and looked down into that mile-deep abyss, if you've ever wondered what it's like down there when the sun goes down, you need to hear this. What I'm about to tell you might save your life. My name is Owen Mercer, and I've been a park ranger at Grand Canyon National Park for 2 years. I work the South Rim, which means I deal with 3 million tourists every year. Inexperienced hikers who think they can make it to the river and back in one day, and the search and rescue operations when those hikers don't make it back at all. 2 years might not sound like much, but in that time I've pulled 17 people off trails in various states of dehydration and heat exhaustion. I've coordinated 4 body recoveries after fatal falls. I've talked 3 people back from the edge when they got too close to the rim. And 3 months ago, I lost my best friend to something that the official report calls an accidental drowning in the Colorado River. His name was Derek Sullivan. We went through ranger training together in Colorado, got hired at the Grand Canyon at the same time, became roommates in the employee housing. Derek was 26 years old, in perfect physical condition, an experienced hiker and swimmer. According to the official story, he slipped on wet rocks near the Colorado River during a routine patrol and drowned. But I know that's not what happened. Because Derek sent me a radio transmission 20 minutes before he died, and what he said doesn't match any accident. Let me start 3 months ago, on the day everything went wrong. It was late September, the tail end of busy season. Derek and I were assigned a 3-day backcountry patrol, hiking the Tonto Trail from Grandview Point to Hermit's Rest, about 30 miles through some of the most remote sections of the canyon. We started on a Wednesday morning, fully loaded with camping gear, food, and water. The plan was simple: cover about 10 miles a day, camp at designated sites, emerge at Hermit's Rest on Friday afternoon. The first day went perfectly. We hiked through incredible scenery, the canyon revealing new layers and colors with every mile. We camped that night at a site near Horseshoe Mesa, ate freeze-dried dinner, talked about our plans for the off-season. "I'm thinking about applying for a winter position in Yosemite," Derek said. "Do something different for a few months." "You'd leave the canyon?" "Not permanently, but I've been here almost 3 years straight. Might be good to get perspective." He looked up at the stars. "Sometimes I feel like this place is getting too deep inside my head. Like I'm starting to understand things I shouldn't." "What do you mean?" "Just patterns. Connections. The way the canyon works." He shook his head. "Never mind. I'm probably just tired. I didn't push him. Looking back, I wish I had." On the second day, we covered another 10 miles and camped near Boucher Creek. The site was isolated, surrounded by high canyon walls that blocked most of the sky. We were probably 5 miles from the nearest other humans. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to Derek unzipping his tent. "Derek? Everything okay?" "I hear something," he whispered. "Down by the creek. Sounds like someone calling for help." I listened. At first, nothing but wind and distant water. Then I caught it. A voice, faint, calling out. It sounded like it was saying, "Help me," over and over. "Derek, get back in your tent. You know we don't investigate voices at night." What if someone's actually in trouble? What if a hiker fell and needs help? "Then we'll find them in the morning. That's the rule." He hesitated, then nodded and went back into his tent. But I could tell he wasn't convinced. I lay awake for the next hour, listening to that distant voice, forcing myself not to investigate. The next morning, we checked the creek thoroughly. No signs of anyone in distress. No tracks, no disturbed ground, nothing. Whatever we'd heard wasn't a person. We broke camp and continued our hike. The third day should have been straightforward, a final 10-mile push to Hermit's Rest where we'd arranged for a shuttle back to the South Rim. But around noon, we reached a section where the trail runs close to the Colorado River, and that's when Derek stopped suddenly. "Owen, do you see that?" I looked down at the water, maybe 200 feet below us. "See what?" "There, on the far bank. Is that a person?" I squinted. There did seem to be something on the opposite bank, a shape that might have been human, but from this distance it was impossible to tell. "Could be a hiker," I said, "but we can't reach them from here. The nearest crossing is miles away." Derek pulled out his binoculars and looked. His face went pale. "Owen, that doesn't look right. What do you see? The proportions are wrong. The limbs are too long, and it's watching us. It's definitely watching us." He lowered the binoculars, his hands shaking. "What the hell is that?" I took the binoculars and looked. The figure was still there, standing motionless on the far bank. And Derek was right. Something about it was wrong. The way it stood, the way its arms hung, the angle of its head. It looked almost human, but not quite. "We keep moving," I decided. "Whatever that is, it's on the other side of the river. It can't reach us." We hiked on, but Derek kept looking back. After about 20 minutes, he stopped again. "Owen, it moved." I turned. The figure was now upstream from us, still on the far bank, but it had paralleled our movement, keeping pace with us. "Ignore it," I said, my own unease growing. "We're 2 hours from Hermit's Rest. We finish the patrol, we report this, we let Chief Whitmore deal with it." "Right, yeah, you're right." But Derek's voice was tight with fear. We reached Hermit's Rest at 3 p.m. The shuttle was waiting. We loaded our gear and started the drive back to the South Rim. Derek was quiet the whole way, staring out the window at the canyon. That evening, we filed our patrol report with Chief Ranger Tom Whitmore. I mentioned the figure by the river, described it as possible hiker in need of assistance but unreachable from our position. Tom was former Army Rangers, mid-50s, with the weathered face of someone who'd seen real combat. He read the report carefully. "Did this figure do anything threatening?" he asked. "No, sir," I said. "It just watched us." "And you're sure it was a person?" Derek and I exchanged glances. "It was shaped like a person," Derek said carefully. Tom made a note in his computer. "I'll have helicopter patrol check that section tomorrow. In the meantime, good work on the patrol. Get some rest." As we left the office, Derek grabbed my arm. "That wasn't a person, Owen." "You know it wasn't." "I know. But what else could it have been?" "I don't know. But I'm going to find out." Those were the last words Derek said to me. That was Thursday evening. On Friday, Derek called in sick, said he was feeling run down from the patrol. On Saturday, his roommate reported him missing. On Sunday morning, they found his ranger uniform and personal belongings in his room, but Derek was gone. His truck was still in the employee parking lot. His phone was in his room. He'd vanished without taking any gear or supplies. Search and rescue deployed immediately. Helicopter sweeps, ground teams, the whole protocol. They found Derek's body Monday afternoon at the bottom of the canyon, in the Colorado River, about 2 miles downstream from where we'd seen the figure. The medical examiner said drowning. Said he'd gone hiking alone on Sunday morning, off duty and without authorization, descended into the canyon via the Hermit Trail, and somehow ended up in the river where he drowned. Case closed. Tragic accident. But I knew better. 3 days after Derek's funeral, I couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop thinking about that figure by the river, about Derek's obsession with finding out what it was. Around 2 a.m., I drove to the ranger station. I had the access codes because I'd helped upgrade the radio system the month before. I broke into the communication archive room and started searching through the logs. And I found it. Derek's final transmission, logged at 11:47 p.m. on Saturday night but marked as equipment malfunction and buried in technical reports. I sat in that dark room and pressed play. Derek's voice came through the speaker, breathless and panicked. "Control, this is Sullivan. I don't know where I am. I thought I was on Hermit Trail, but nothing looks right. The canyon walls are wrong. The stars are wrong. I can hear the river, but it sounds like it's above me, not below. And there's something following me. The thing we saw by the river. It's here. It's been pacing me for the last hour. Every time I stop, it stops. When I move, it moves. But it's getting closer. I can hear it breathing. Control, if anyone finds this recording, tell Owen he was right. We should have reported it properly. We should have followed the protocols. Don't come looking for me after dark. Don't..." The transmission cut off, static for 10 seconds. Then Derek's voice again, but different, strained, terrified. Oh God, it's not. That's not how arms should bend. That's not. No, stay back. Stay back. Then screaming. Then the sound of rushing water. Then nothing. I must have listened to that recording 20 times that night, trying to understand. Derek had been in the canyon at night. He'd violated the first rule every ranger learns: never patrol below the rim after sunset. And something had found him. Something that had been waiting. The next morning I requested a meeting with Tom Whitmore. I didn't care about protocols anymore. I didn't care about keeping secrets. I needed answers. "I heard Derek's last transmission," I said the moment I walked into his office. Tom's face hardened. "That recording is classified. You had no authorization to access." He was being hunted by something. The same thing we saw by the river. And you knew. You knew what was down there. Tom stood up and closed his office door. When he turned back to me, the official mask was gone. He just looked tired. Old. "What do you want me to say, Owen?" "That there are things in this canyon that don't follow natural law? That we have rules specifically designed to avoid encounters with those things? That your friend violated those rules and paid the price?" He sat down heavily. "Yes, all of that is true. But I can't put it in an official report. The Park Service would shut us down. The tourists would panic, and it wouldn't bring Derek back. So we just pretend? We let people come here not knowing what's really in the canyon. We warn them in the only ways we can." Tom pulled out a file from his locked drawer. "The rules exist for rangers because rangers spend the most time below the rim. For tourists, we have simpler warnings. Don't hike alone. Don't hike after dark. Stay on marked trails. Those rules keep most people safe. Most people. No place is perfectly safe, Owen. Especially not a place like this." He slid the file across to me. "Since you've already broken protocol by accessing classified information, you might as well see the full picture." Inside were incident reports going back decades. Disappearances. Unexplained deaths. Rangers and hikers who'd violated the unspoken rules and paid for it. The file was thick, easily 100 pages. I started reading. A hiker in 1973 who was found at the top of a cliff face, dead from exposure, but his footprints in the snow showed he'd walked straight up a vertical wall. A ranger in 1981 who disappeared during a night patrol and was found 3 days later, alive but catatonic, unable to explain where he'd been. A family in 1995 whose campsite was found completely intact except all their personal belongings were arranged in a perfect circle with no footprints approaching or leaving. "What are these things?" I asked. "We don't have names for them." The Havasupai people who lived in the canyon for centuries had stories, but those stories weren't meant for outsiders. All we know is that they're territorial, they're active mostly at night, and they react to certain behaviors. Tom tapped the file. Every rule we follow was learned through tragedy. Someone died or disappeared, and we figured out what they did wrong. That's how we build the rules. Derek followed the rules during our patrol. What did he do wrong? He went back, Tom said quietly. After your patrol ended, he kept thinking about what you'd seen. He researched it. He obsessed over it. And Saturday night, he went back down alone to investigate. That was his mistake. Not just hiking alone after dark, but going back deliberately. These things don't like being studied, don't like being pursued. So what am I supposed to do? Just forget about my best friend? Pretend his death was an accident? You're supposed to learn from it. You're supposed to follow the rules so you don't end up the same way. Tom closed the file. And you're supposed to keep doing your job because these tourists need rangers who understand the real dangers. Over the next 2 months, I threw myself into the work. I memorized every safety protocol. I studied the incident reports Tom had shown me. I learned to recognize the warning signs, unusual sounds at night, areas where the radio suddenly failed, hikers who reported seeing things that didn't make sense. And I became hypervigilant about enforcing the rules. When I found a hiker on the Bright Angel Trail at 7 p.m. still descending with a full pack, I stopped him. "Sir, you need to turn around immediately." "What?" "Why? I'm making good time. I can get to Phantom Ranch in 3 hours. That would put you on the trail after dark, which is prohibited. Turn around now or I'll have to escort you back to the rim." He complained, but he turned around. Maybe I saved his life. Maybe I was just being paranoid. I couldn't tell anymore. My regular partner, Natalie Cross, noticed the change in me. She was 35, had been a ranger for 8 years, knew the canyon better than almost anyone. One morning during a patrol, she brought it up. "Owen, you're working yourself into the ground. You're pulling double shifts, volunteering for extra patrols. You need to rest. I'm fine." "You're not fine. Derek's death hit all of us hard, but you can't save everyone by working yourself to exhaustion." "I'm not trying to save everyone. I'm trying to understand what killed him." She stopped walking and turned to face me. "You want the truth? Fine. Things live in this canyon that shouldn't exist. Things that hunt. Things that kill. We have rules to avoid them. But the rules aren't perfect. Sometimes people die anyway. Derek died because he got too curious, too obsessed. Don't make the same mistake. So I'm just supposed to accept that monsters are real, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm saying you need to respect what you don't understand. The Havasupai people who lived here called this place Wikatata. It means rough rim, but it also carries implications of danger, of things in the canyon that should be avoided. They knew. They understood. She started walking again. "Come on. We have 6 more miles to cover today." Christmas came and went. Winter brought fewer tourists, which meant quieter trails and fewer rescue operations. But it also meant longer nights. Darkness lasted from 5:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. That gave the things in the canyon more time to hunt. On January 15th, in the middle of a cold snap, we got a call that changed everything. "All units, we have a missing child on the Bright Angel Trail. Female, age 7, separated from family approximately 1 hour ago near the 2 Mile Rest House. I was at Indian Garden, about 3 miles from 2 Mile, when the call came through. I keyed my radio immediately. "Control, this is Mercer at Indian Garden. I can be at 2 Mile in 40 minutes. requesting additional units. Copy, Mercer. Proceed to 2 Mile. Additional units are en route. A 7-year-old girl, alone on the trail with less than 2 hours until sunset. I ran. Not a jog, but an all-out sprint up the switchbacks. My lungs burned in the cold air. My legs screamed at me to slow down, but I kept pushing. A child's life depended on it. I reached 2 Mile Rest House at 4:47 p.m. The girl's parents were there, frantic. The mother was crying. The father was pacing, checking his phone even though there was no signal. "She was right here," the mother sobbed to the ranger coordinating the search. "We stopped to rest and take pictures." I turned away for 30 seconds. When I looked back, she was gone. Other rangers had arrived and were organizing search teams. We split up the trail sections. I took the area between 2 Mile and 3 Mile, calling the girl's name as I searched. "Emma. Emma Chen, this is Park Ranger Mercer. Your parents are looking for you." The sun was getting lower, 5:15 p.m., 32 minutes until sunset, and we still hadn't found her. Then I heard it. A child's voice, faint, coming from off the main trail. "Help!" I'm stuck. Every instinct screamed at me to run toward that voice. A child needed help. That's what rangers do. We help people. But something felt wrong. I keyed my radio. "Control, I hear a voice off-trail near 2 Mile. Investigating. Mercer, sunset is in 30 minutes. Exercise extreme caution. I left the main trail following the voice into rougher terrain. Emma, keep calling out so I can find you." "I'm here." I fell down and I can't get up. The voice was leading me away from the trail, deeper into the canyon. The terrain got rockier, harder to navigate. I checked my watch, 5:35 p.m., 12 minutes to sunset. "Emma, keep talking! I'm almost there! Help me!" "It hurts." I scrambled over rocks and through brush, following the voice. My radio crackled with updates from other search teams, but I ignored them. I was close. I could feel it. And then I stopped cold. Because I'd reached the edge of a cliff. A sheer drop of at least 200 feet into darkness. And the voice was coming from down there. From somewhere in that void. But there was no way a 7-year-old girl could have gotten down there. No way she could have fallen that far and still be calling out clearly. "Help me," the voice said again. And this time, I heard it. Really heard it. The pitch was slightly off. The inflection too perfect, like a recording being played back. Every syllable identical to the last time. This wasn't Emma Chen. This was something else. Something mimicking a child's voice to lure me closer to the edge. I backed away from the cliff, my heart pounding. The voice continued calling. "Help me! Help me! Help me!" Over and over with exactly the same tone and cadence each time, like a loop, like a trap. I ran back to the main trail and keyed my radio. "Control, false alarm. The voice I heard was not the missing child. Repeat, not the missing child." "Copy, Mercer. All units continue search." I checked my watch, 5:44 p.m., 3 minutes to sunset, and Emma Chen was still missing. 2 minutes later, as the sun touched the horizon, another ranger's voice came through. "Control, I have the girl. She's safe. Found her at the 3 Mile Rest House. She'd hiked up instead of down." Relief flooded through me. Emma was safe, but I was still 1.5 miles below the rim, with darkness falling fast. "Control, this is Mercer. I'm at 2 Mile with approximately 3 miles to the rim. Requesting guidance." Tom's voice came through, steady and authoritative. "Mercer, shelter in place at 2 Mile Rest House. Do not attempt to climb out after dark. We'll send a team at first light. The first rule every ranger learns. If you're caught below the rim after sunset, you shelter in place. You don't try to climb out. You wait for dawn." "Copy, Control. Sheltering at 2 Mile." I made my way to the rest house, a stone structure built in the 1930s to provide shade for hikers.
It had a roof and 3 walls but was open on one side facing the trail. I'd spent nights in the canyon before, but always at designated campsites with a tent and proper gear. Now I had nothing but my day pack, radio, and the emergency supplies I carried for rescues. A space blanket, energy bars, water, a headlamp with spare batteries. The sun set. Darkness fell quickly in the canyon, the high walls blocking any residual light. I pulled out my headlamp but kept it off, conserving batteries. The moon was nearly full, providing enough light to see basic shapes. I sat with my back against the stone wall, facing the open side of the rest house, and I waited for whatever the night would bring. Around 8 p.m., I heard footsteps on the trail. Slow, deliberate footsteps coming from below, heading upward toward the rim. I turned on my headlamp. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the empty trail. Nothing there. The footsteps stopped. I turned off the headlamp. The footsteps resumed. This happened 3 more times over the next hour. Footsteps approaching, stopping when I used light, resuming when I turned it off. Whatever was walking that trail didn't want to be seen, but it wanted me to know it was there. At 9:30 p.m., I heard voices, multiple voices, having a conversation just beyond the edge of my light. I couldn't make out words, just the rhythm of speech. Question, answer, laughter, like a group of hikers passing by in the dark. Except no hikers would be on the trail at this hour. No sane person would be hiking after dark in the Grand Canyon. I kept my headlamp on and my radio close, but I didn't respond to the voices, didn't call out, just sat there in the stone shelter, listening to phantom conversations on an empty trail. Around 11 p.m., something walked past the rest house. I saw it in my peripheral vision. A shape moving on 2 legs, but wrong somehow. Too tall, limbs at odd angles, head tilted at an impossible degree. I kept my eyes forward, didn't look directly at it. I remembered what Tom had said about not watching the lights that moved on canyon walls at night. I figured the principle applied to anything else that shouldn't exist. It paused right at the edge of the rest house. I could feel it looking at me, could sense its attention like a physical weight pressing against my skull. Then it moved on, continuing up the trail toward the rim. Its footsteps faded into silence, but I knew it wasn't gone. Not really. It was just waiting somewhere in the darkness. The temperature dropped as the night deepened. Even with my space blanket wrapped around me, I was shivering. January nights in the canyon can get below freezing, and I hadn't packed for an overnight stay. Around 2 a.m., the thing that had passed me earlier came back down the trail. This time, it stopped directly in front of the rest house, just outside the structure. I kept my eyes on my hands, on my radio, on anything except the shape standing just beyond the opening. My headlamp was off. The moonlight cast everything in silver and shadow. "Owen Mercer," it said. The voice was wrong. Too many harmonics, like multiple people speaking in perfect unison. Like a choir that had practiced for centuries to get every note exactly right. I didn't respond. Didn't look up. I'd heard Derek's last transmission. I knew what happened when you engaged with these things. "Why do you sit in the old stones when the canyon calls?" it asked. "Why do you resist what your friend embraced?" My hands were shaking. I gripped my radio tighter, focusing on the cold metal in my palm. Real, solid, human-made. "Your friend Derek answered when we called. He came to us willingly in the end. He wanted to understand. Don't you want to understand?" I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. The pain helped, kept me focused, kept me from responding. "We've been here since before the stones were stones, since the river first carved this sacred place. We are the canyon, and the canyon is hungry. I could hear it breathing now, if breathing was the right word. A sound like wind through deep caverns, rhythmic and ancient. And I could smell it, like ancient dust and ozone and something else, something organic and wrong. You'll come eventually, it continued. They all do. The curious ones, the brave ones, the ones who think they can learn our secrets. You're already marked, Owen Mercer. You've seen too much, heard too much, known too much. The canyon doesn't forget those who witness. It leaned closer. I could feel the temperature drop another 10 degrees. My breath came out in thick clouds. Your friend is with us now. Part of the stone, part of the water, part of the eternal depth. Would you like to hear his voice? Would you like to know what he learned before the end? Everything in me wanted to look up, wanted to see what was speaking, wanted to know if Derek was really there somehow, trapped in whatever these things were. But I kept my eyes down, kept my mouth shut, kept breathing. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, it spoke one more time. We'll be here when you're ready. We're always here, in the depths, in the darkness, in the spaces between the stones. And one day, you'll step off the trail, you'll follow a voice, you'll chase a light, and you'll join your friend in understanding. Then it was gone. One moment present, the next just absence. I didn't hear it leave. It simply stopped being there. I sat in that rest house until the sky began to lighten. Around 6 a.m., the darkness lifted enough that I could see the trail clearly. The eastern horizon showed the first hints of dawn, painting the canyon walls in shades of deep purple and orange. At 6:30, I heard voices. Real human voices with normal cadence and pitch. Relief flooded through me. Mercer? You in there? Natalie appeared around a switchback, followed by another ranger I didn't know well. Both were fully geared with packs and extra supplies. I'm here, I said, standing up on shaky legs. I'm okay. Natalie looked me over carefully. Did you have any problems overnight? The question had layers. She was asking if I'd encountered anything, if I'd seen the things that lived in the canyon after dark. Nothing I couldn't handle, I said. She nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. Let's get you back to the rim. Tom wants to debrief you. The hike up took 2 hours. By the time we reached the top, the sun was fully up and the canyon looked normal again. Beautiful, ancient, and indifferent to human concerns. Tourists were already gathering at the viewpoints, taking photos, planning their descents. They had no idea what lived down there in the darkness. Tom debriefed me in his office. I gave him the official version first. Sheltered in place per protocol, maintained radio contact, returned safely at first light. Then I gave him the real version. It spoke to me, I said. Used Derek's name. Said he was part of the canyon now. Said I'm marked. Tom leaned back in his chair, looking older than he had 3 months ago. They do that sometimes. Try to engage you, get you to respond. You did the right thing by staying silent. It said I'll end up like Derek eventually. That I've seen too much. That's probably true. Tom was quiet for a moment. Most rangers who've had direct encounters end up leaving within a year. The knowledge becomes too heavy, the fear too constant. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to transfer. Request reassignment to a different park. Is there a park where things like this don't exist? Honestly? I don't know. I've only worked here, but I imagine most places don't have what we have. He looked at me seriously. Owen, you're a good ranger. You care about people. You follow protocols. But you're also carrying something now. A weight. And eventually, that weight will become too much. I've seen it happen before. I thought about leaving, starting over somewhere else. Yellowstone, Yosemite. Somewhere the rules were simpler. Somewhere I could do my job without wondering if every shadow held something that wanted to kill me. But I kept coming back to Derek, to the promise I'd made to myself to make sure nobody else died the way he did. "I'm staying," I said. "Someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to enforce the protocols." Tom smiled slightly. "I was hoping you'd say that. Because I need someone I can trust. Someone who understands what we're really protecting people from." He pulled out a folder. "I want to create a new position. Training coordinator for new Rangers. You'd teach them the real rules, help them understand what they're dealing with, from the safety of the rim. You're benching me. I'm keeping you alive, and putting you in a position where you can actually help people by passing on knowledge instead of becoming another cautionary tale." He slid the folder across. "Think about it." I took the folder but didn't open it. "On one condition, every new Ranger gets the full truth. Not sanitized versions or vague warnings. The actual truth about what's down there." Done. Over the next few months, I transitioned into my new role. I still did occasional rim patrols, still helped with search and rescue operations that happened during daylight, but I didn't go below the rim after 3 p.m. anymore. Didn't take overnight backcountry patrols. Didn't put myself in situations where I'd be in the canyon after dark. Instead, I became the person who sat down with new Rangers on their first day and told them the rules. The real rules. The ones that keep you alive. I showed them the incident reports, told them about Derek Sullivan, about the 3 Rangers who died in 1987, about all the others who'd learned these lessons too late. Some thought I was crazy at first. Some thought it was hazing. But eventually, usually after their first strange encounter or their first night shift, they'd come back to my office and ask questions, and I'd answer honestly. One morning in April, 6 months after Derek's death, I was giving orientation to a new Ranger. His name was Tyler Chen, 23 years old, fresh out of training, full of enthusiasm about working in one of America's most iconic national parks. "So, here's what you need to understand," I told him, handing him a laminated card with the protocols typed on it. "These rules exist because Rangers died learning them. Follow them exactly, and you'll be fine. Break them, and you might not come back." Tyler read the card, his enthusiasm fading into concern. "Sir, is this for real? These rules about not investigating voices, not approaching the river after dark, not following sounds of water at night? What do you think?" I think it sounds impossible. It is impossible, according to everything you learned in school, according to modern science, according to rational thinking. But impossible things don't care what we believe. They exist anyway. I leaned forward. "This canyon has been here for 6 million years. Humans have been here for maybe 12,000. We're visitors in a place that was never meant for us. The best we can do is be respectful guests. What happened to the Ranger who didn't follow the rules? The one mentioned in the case files? His name was Derek Sullivan. He was my best friend, and he died because he got too curious, too obsessed. He wanted to understand something that can't be understood." I stood up. "Don't make his mistake. Do your job, help the visitors, respect the canyon. That's all you need to do. And if I see something that doesn't make sense, then you report it, you document it, and you let someone like me handle it. Because some of us are already marked. Some of us have already crossed the line between the known and the unknown. You don't have to join us." Tyler left my office looking both frightened and intrigued. I recognized that expression. I'd worn it myself 6 months ago. That evening, I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I drove to the employee cemetery, a small plot of land behind the ranger housing where a few longtime park employees had been buried. Derek's grave was in the back corner, marked with a simple stone. Derek Sullivan, 1998 to 2025, Park Ranger,
friend, explorer. His parents had chosen the words. They didn't know what he'd really been exploring when he died. I sat on the ground next to the marker, my back against the low stone wall that surrounded the cemetery. "I'm still here," I said quietly, "still following the rules you broke, still teaching others to respect what you tried to understand." The wind picked up, carrying red dust across the cemetery, and for just a moment, I swear I heard Derek's voice, not the terrified screaming from his last transmission, but the way he used to sound, calm, thoughtful. "You figured it out faster than I did. Good. Keep them safe, Owen. That's all that matters now. Maybe it was imagination, maybe grief, maybe just the wind playing tricks. But I chose to believe it was Derek, somehow, telling me I was doing the right thing." As the sun set, I stood at the rim overlooking the canyon. The shadows grew long, filling the depths with darkness. And somewhere down there, in that mile-deep abyss, I knew they were looking back at me. The things that have been here since before the stones were stones. The things that will be here long after humans are gone. The things that Derek tried to understand and paid for with his life. I whispered into the wind, knowing they could hear me. I'm still here. Still following the rules, still teaching others to stay away from you. That's my purpose now. The wind carried my words down into the canyon, and I swear I heard a response. That multi-voice harmony, echoing from impossible depths. The marked one stays. The debt remains. When you're ready, when the weight becomes too heavy, the canyon will call, and you will answer. They always do. "Maybe," I said, "but not today. Not tomorrow. Not until I've taught everyone I can how to survive you." I turned away from the rim and walked back to the visitor center. Behind me, the Grand Canyon stretched into darkness, eternal and indifferent and hungry. It's been 6 months since that night at 2 Mile Rest House. 6 months since I heard that thing speak my name. And in that time, we haven't lost a single ranger to unexplained circumstances. The protocols work. As long as you follow them, as long as you respect what lives in the depths, you can work here and go home safe every night. But every so often, a tourist reports hearing voices, seeing lights that move wrong, finding belongings that shouldn't be there. And we handle it properly. We mark it, we report it, we follow the protocols. Because those rules aren't suggestions. They're survival instructions written in the blood of people who learned them too late. Last week, Tom called me into his office. "We got a request from Yellowstone. They're having some unexplained incidents in the backcountry. Missing hikers, strange reports. They heard about our protocol system and want to know if I can send someone to consult." "You want me to go?" "You're the expert now. The one who understands how to deal with things that shouldn't exist." He handed me a file. "It's voluntary. 2 weeks, all expenses paid. Share what you know, help them build their own protocols." I took the file. Inside were incident reports from Yellowstone that sounded eerily familiar. Hikers hearing voices near geysers. Rangers finding abandoned gear with no explanation. People reporting figures in the mist that moved wrong. "I'll do it," I said. "But I'm coming back here when it's done. The canyon is my responsibility now." "I know. That's why you're the right person for this. So next month, I'm flying to Wyoming. I'm going to share what I've learned, what Derek died teaching me, what the canyon has shown me about the spaces between the known and unknown. But I'll come back, because the Grand Canyon needs rangers who understand what lives in the depths, rangers who will enforce the protocols, rangers who will keep people safe from things they don't even know exist. If you're planning to visit the Grand Canyon, please listen to what I'm about to tell you. These aren't just guidelines. These are rules written in tragedy. Don't hike alone below Indian Garden. Always have a partner. Don't stay on the trails after dark. If sunset catches you, Shelter in place until dawn. If you hear voices calling you, especially voices that sound like someone you know, don't respond. Don't investigate. If you see lights moving on the canyon walls at night, lights that aren't flashlights or stars, look away immediately. Never approach the Colorado River after sunset. The water is dangerous enough during the day. After dark, it's something else entirely. If you find abandoned belongings on the trail, don't touch them. Report them to a ranger. And if you hear what sounds like running water at night, leading you away from the main trail, don't follow it. What sounds like water might not be water at all. These rules exist because the Grand Canyon is more than just a geological wonder. It's older than human understanding. It's deeper than human knowledge. And in those depths, things live that were never meant to coexist with us. The canyon is beautiful. It's awe-inspiring. It's one of the natural wonders of the world. But it's also a hunting ground for things that shouldn't exist. So visit the canyon, take your photos, hike the trails, experience the majesty, but respect the rules, because the canyon is always watching, always listening, always waiting for someone to make a mistake. Don't let it be you. And if you're a ranger, if you work in wild places, if you've ever encountered something you couldn't explain, know this: you're not alone. There are others who've seen what you've seen, who know what you know, who carry the same weight. Follow the protocols. Trust your instincts. And remember that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some depths aren't meant to be explored. Derek forgot that. And now he's part of the canyon, forever. I won't forget, and I won't let anyone else forget either. That's my job now, not just protecting people from falls and dehydration and heat exhaustion, but protecting them from the things in the darkness that hunger for the unwary. The Grand Canyon is beautiful, but beauty and danger aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes they're the same thing. Stay safe out there. Follow the rules. And if you ever hear something calling your name from the depths of the canyon after dark, don't answer. Just keep walking, and don't look back.